Okay, so I did a recording before this. It wasn't very good. I wasn't talking loud enough, but I haven't seen the rest of this. 5 disturbing true lockdown stories. So let's see the rest of this. Or, for you guys, this. Missing Nightmare.
This happened in 2016, back when I was in 5th
Clown.
grade. If you remember that year, you probably remember all the killer clown sightings that were happening around the
I
country.
don't remember that.
At the
but I
time,
remember
it was all over the news and social media. Most adults thought it was just some dumb trend or prank, but for young kids, it was actually pretty scary.
Oh, yeah.
It was a normal day at school. I went to an elementary school in a quiet suburban area where I still live. Nothing weird ever
Still
really
live there?
happens here. It was around 1 p.m. I'm
Dox
guessing,
yourself.
because it was closer to the end of the school day. We were in class working on some random assignment, and the classroom was quiet except for a few people whispering. Then, one of the students in my class suddenly said out loud, "There's a clown outside." I still remember her high-pitched voice as she said it.
Wait, this
Some
is
of us
you?
stood up and looked toward the window,
Or is
and
this,
yeah, there
like,
really was a
reading
clown
off
outside.
I think
He was standing just a few feet away from the window, facing our classroom directly. He was wearing a baggy, dirty red and yellow
it's not
clown
that
suit and
scary,
had
bro.
white face paint with black around the eyes. He was smiling and staring in at us with this big fake grin. After a few seconds, he started waving slowly. Some of the kids thought it was funny and
Scary,
laughed.
bro.
Others were clearly freaked out. Our teacher, Mrs. Riker, walked over to the window, looked at the guy for a second, and then said through the glass, loud and annoyed, "Excuse me, classes are in session. You need to get out of here." The clown didn't react at all. He just kept standing there,
watch, bro.
smiling and waving.
If he wants to
Mrs.
watch
Riker
a
told us all to
class,
sit back
sure
down
he
and said she was
can.
calling the front office. She picked up the corded classroom phone and then walked into the hallway with it and spoke quietly. The phones in the classrooms were always next to the door, so that's how she was able to walk outside the room with
Yeah,
it.
that's pretty standard.
She came back in moments later and then hung up. She walked over to the window and shut all the blinds after she saw that the man in the clown costume was still there, doing the same creepy waving
Yeah,
motion,
just close the
smiling,
blinds,
and
not
general
bad.
clownish mannerisms. Not even 2 minutes later, the principal's voice came over the loudspeaker.
Oh,
"Staff, please get your classrooms into lockdown formation." There was a sense of urgency in the
That guy's
voice that,
clearly
looking
creepy.
back, was probably to alert the teachers that it wasn't a drill without causing all the kids to go into a panic. That's when it got serious. Mrs. Riker rushed to turn off the lights and told us all to get under our desks. She pulled the door shut and locked it. Everyone was quiet. Some kids were giggling, but others looked scared. I was definitely scared. We stayed like that for what felt like forever.
Yeah, you
but
don't
it was
know what
actually
their
about 30
intentions are.
minutes. Nobody knew what was happening, but eventually, the principal came back on the loudspeaker and said the lockdown was over and that the
Good.
situation had been handled. Apparently, school security had confirmed that the clown was gone. They didn't tell us anything else.
huh.
Classes went on like normal for the rest of the day. It felt weird. Everyone was talking about it during dismissal, but the teachers didn't say much.
Yeah.
Then, after school, I was walking home with my friend Chris.
Oh.
We lived in the same neighborhood,
jumped
just
by
a few
him?
blocks away. While we were walking, a couple of 5th grade girls behind us suddenly ran past us, looking panicked. One of them said, "There's someone in the woods."
You better stop
We
running.
stopped and turned around. Behind the school, there's a small patch of trees. It's not deep woods or anything, just enough to separate the school from the street behind it. And standing just barely out of view, near the edge of the woods, was the clown again. Same dirty outfit, same painted face.
Bro,
He
that
was half
guy's
hidden by the trees, but he was clearly waving, and he wasn't just waving at random. He was doing it slowly, directly at the girls who had just passed us, like he was trying to call them over. Chris and I didn't say anything. We just ran.
Bro,
I don't know
it's
what
trying
happened
to be
after that,
creepy.
but I told my parents as soon as I got home. They called the school, and later I heard from another kid that the police were called again and patrolled the area, but they never found anyone. To this day, nobody knows who that guy was, and I don't know if he was just trying to scare some kids or if he were planning something worse. But what freaks me out the most is that he came back after the lockdown, and he waited, hidden in the trees, watching kids go home.
Either he's just trying to be a weird prankster or he's actually creepy. But that got recording.
So this happened not long ago. I live on the outskirts of Philadelphia, where it's me, my son, and my stepdaughter. I say stepdaughter as I've taken my best friend's daughter in legally. Around
Yeah.
2016, my best friend Joanne was murdered by her
Oh,
husband.
2016,
He ended
wow,
up making national headlines and was convicted of 5 more murder cases.
Bruh.
He's facing 3 consecutive life sentences with no parole. Now I'm a middle school teacher at my son's school. He's the year below what I teach. My stepdaughter is the grade above what I teach, so their classrooms are not far off from mine.
Yeah?
This incident took place on March 30th, 2020, when the lockdowns were slowly taking place. Where I taught, the school was rather distant from anywhere. The next school was about 10 miles, the gas station was about 2 miles, and the nearest park was about 600 meters from where we were.
It's pretty
So
far.
we were one of the last schools to go into lockdown. Around midday of March, it was a normal heated Monday. I was teaching math at that time for the 6th graders. All of a
Also, why
sudden,
is-
I get a note.
I have a question. Why is it, like, so shaky? It's just weird.
Notification on my phone that someone was
Yeah, I
here to
see
pick up
that.
my stepdaughter. The system that works is the main
Sure, I'll
emergency
stop by.
number gets a notification if someone is picking up your child. The thing is, my stepdaughter was 3 classes down from me. She had no appointments, no close family that lived in a good radius from us.
What?
I replied that I'm here at school and no one in a 10-mile radius is picking her up. This was sending alarm bells off left and right. They said that the person picking her up was her biological dad. The school doesn't have that type of information on file. A few minutes go by on the phone and it's dead silent. The lady tells me she's going to call the principal and see what he wants to do from there. A gut feeling didn't sit right with me. I called my stepdaughter's classroom and asked for her to be sent to my room. Just as I hung up, I was back to teaching when my stepdaughter came into the classroom. Not even 10 minutes later, the lockdown siren went off.
Who would have guessed?
I had kids push desks to the door and barricade the windows,
Yeah,
and
that's
everyone
actually
sat in the corner.
Slightly better.
I had a pretty good feeling on who this lockdown was about. We were in a lockdown for about 46 minutes at this point. My main concern was how did he end up getting out? About 2 hours later, the lockdown was lifted and I was escorted out by the police. I was further questioned on how I knew this man due to the CPS records. I said I took my best friend's daughter in and explained the whole story. The police informed me that how he had gotten out was a prison bus transporting inmates to another cell, but a car came swerving in and crashed into the prison bus, leaving 10 prisoners dead on the scene, 2 prison guards knocked out, and 20 escaped. There were police already at our house waiting for the dad to show up, but he never did. When they heard the lockdown at the school, they knew it was one of the prisoners. If they had never gotten there on time, I honestly have no idea what would have happened.
Joe. Just plain boring old Joe.
This happened during my freshman year of high
Yep,
school.
yeah, it's blurred out.
I'm 21 now,
Just high
and I
school
still think
now.
about it all the time. I went to a public school in a pretty average suburban town. We did lockdown drills maybe once every couple months, so when this one started, that's exactly what I thought it was. Just a drill. It was a Wednesday, 4th period.
Drill.
I remember because it was earth science, and we had just finished a pop quiz. I was putting my stuff into my backpack when the loudspeaker came on and said, "This is a lockdown. Lock all doors, lights off, stay quiet." At first, nobody panicked. Our teacher, Mrs. Chen, sighed, got up, and locked the door like usual. She turned off the lights and told us all to get into the corner of the room, away from the door.
Okay, why do they always follow
Everyone
the
was laughing
same
a little and whispering like it was no big deal. But then we heard a second announcement. Same voice, but it sounded different. More rushed. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill." That's when the room went silent. My teacher didn't say a word. She just motioned for everyone to stay down and keep quiet. I could tell even she was nervous now. She kept checking her phone, and we could hear faint, distant police sirens outside.
Good.
A few minutes passed, then we heard something from the hallway. Footsteps. Slow ones, and not in a hurry like a cop or a teacher, just one person walking. They stopped right in front of our classroom. We were all staring at the door. Nobody breathed. Then came a knock. Not loud, just a soft, slow knock, 3 times. Nobody moved. Then the doorknob turned. They tried to open it, but it was
gonna
locked,
shoot out
obviously, but they kept trying. Not aggressively, just turning the handle back and forth like they were checking. And then, a male's voice on the other side said, "This is just a drill. You can open the door now." We all collectively looked at Mrs. Chen, and then she looked back at all of us, put her finger up to her lips, and shook her head no. The person on the other side of the door kept knocking and trying the doorknob, and eventually the knocks got more aggressive as the voice of the man on the other side kept saying hello. Our classroom was on the first floor in the science wing.
You better be
I
dead
can't tell you
silent.
how much I was shaking in my shoes. I know even if all the other kids didn't want to admit it, they were as well.
Yeah.
Eventually, the knocks stopped, and the man must have walked away. We heard nothing after that for a solid 5 minutes. Total silence, apart from the police sirens outside getting louder.
Good.
It felt like forever. Then, someone down the hall screamed. It was a girl.
Ooh.
Just one scream, and then nothing. A couple of people in my class started crying quietly. Honestly, it was the girls. Someone whispered that they saw a shadow move past the little glass window on the classroom door on several occasions. Each time anyone spoke, even quietly, Mrs. Chen gave a stern but quiet shh. Another 5 or 10 minutes passed. Then, finally, we heard the sound of police officers shouting from down the hallway, telling everyone to stay in place. They were going room to room, and when they finally knocked on our door and unlocked it with a key, Mrs. Chen didn't even move until they showed their badges. We were all escorted out in a line, past other classes doing the same thing. There were cop cars everywhere outside, even a SWAT van.
Okay, why do they expect us to calmly walk out in a line of a freaking school shooter? Like, no, I'm ditching that place. I am running out there as fast as I can.
Didn't see anything too crazy, but I did see one officer leading a guy in cuffs out of the building. He looked about 30. Not a student. Pale, long hair, wearing dark clothes.
Of course.
Later that day, we found out that some criminal had slipped into the school through one of the side doors during a delivery. That side door was right by the end of the science wing. Apparently, he was mentally unstable and had something in his backpack, but I don't know if it was a weapon or not. They didn't tell us much. They just said nobody was hurt and everything was under control. But I swear, I'll never forget that knock at the door. The way he turned the handle, the scream down the hall. It didn't feel like everything was under control at all.
Yikes. Donald L. Donald L. Trump? Donald Trumpet?
I had just started school, and I already had a lockdown to tell.
Bruh.
I'm only 15 years old and just started as a sophomore at Northside High School in Jacksonville, North Carolina. That morning, I came to school early, around 6:55 a.m.
Why are you going
I was one of the first people in my first period class, which was chorus. Our classroom is at the very end of the fine arts hallway, right next to the auditorium. I was sitting at my seat with my phone out, listening to music and just waiting for the bell to ring and start the day. After a few minutes, I heard my teacher say something, so I paused my music and took out my headphones. When I looked up, I saw my classmates heading into the closet at the back of the choir room. I was confused.
Huh.
We had just practiced a lockdown drill the day before, so I wasn't sure if this was another drill or something else. Still, I listened to what the teacher was saying and followed everyone else into the closet. The teacher shut the door behind us and turned off the lights. We were now sitting in complete darkness, with only a small amount of light coming in from under the door. At this point, I still didn't know what was happening, but then I heard police sirens outside. That's when I started to realize this wasn't a drill. It was real. I started to feel nervous, but I kept
Why
calm.
would there be
I figured
Okay, I have a better question. Why did you think there was another, why did you think it was another, shooter drill? It's literally... Why would there be 2 in a row? The schools do not want to waste that much time because they probably want to make us suffer or something.
if I stayed as composed as I could, maybe I wouldn't panic as much. I sat in that closet quietly, trying to listen for any sounds coming from outside, but I didn't hear anything else. We stayed in that closet with the lights off until the lockdown ended, around 8:45 a.m. That's nearly 2 hours. Once we were let out, I felt calm again because everyone around me had stayed calm too.
Yeah?
I went back to my seat in the front of the room and put my music back on, just trying to get back to normal. Later on, I decided to ask my teacher what had happened. I said, "Were there any fights today?" The teacher looked at me seriously and said, "It's much worse."
Uh-oh.
That's when I started to realize something serious had really gone down. I looked out the window and saw cars lined up in the back of the school. At first, I thought it was just regular pickup traffic, but it felt different. In the classroom, some students were trying to get information. Eventually, my friend Jacob told me that someone had been stabbed in the middle of the school, in the rotunda. I didn't know much more than that at the time, but shortly after, my mom texted me asking if I was okay. I told her I was safe and still in my choir class. Some girls in the class had started crying after the lockdown, and that made everything feel even more real. My mom called me next. She told me she had parked her car at the baseball field, along with a bunch of other worried parents trying to find their kids. Eventually, my name was called and I was allowed to leave the school. When I got to the field, I found my mom. She was clearly shaken up, and honestly, so was I. She drove me to the daycare where she worked, and once we got there, both of us went into a quiet room where we cried together. Her co-workers came in to try and comfort us, and I had to go outside to calm down even more. I put my headphones back in and listened to 3 Days Grace just to get my head right again. Later on, we found out exactly what happened.
Music helps.
2 students had been taken to the hospital. One of them died. A teacher had also been slashed by the attacker.
Ooh.
In total, 3 people had been hurt that day.
Oh.
I started searching for more information and found the press conference about the incident already posted online. After watching it, my mom took me to Arby's to get something to eat. I hadn't eaten all day.
Arby's. Okay, low key, Arby's is sucky. It sucks, honestly.
We got our food, then we went to pick up my younger brother from his middle school. He told us he had noticed a lot of cops at the school, but didn't know what had happened. When we got home, I kept searching online for updates. That's when I saw that a 16-year-old had already been charged with voluntary manslaughter, assault with a deadly weapon, and a list of other serious...
Wait, what's the difference between voluntary manslaughter and murder? Huh.
charges. 2 more students, one 15 and one 16, were also charged with assault and disorderly conduct.
Whew.
What made it even more
Why are so many
disturbing was
people-
that
Why are so many people in on this?
someone had recorded the stabbing and posted the video on Snapchat. I didn't watch the video myself, but my mom told me about it. She said in the video, the person recording was running, so the phone was pointed at the ground, but you could clearly hear the screams of kids as the stabbing happened.
Bruh.
My mom thinks the whole thing might have been gang-related, and after I heard that, I
Yeah.
was scared. Scared that someone might come back to retaliate. Another attack. More.
Okay, so that was my video. That's either my first or my second, depending on how I'm feeling right now. But hey, thanks for watching. See ya.